Hello, this is Heather Hoffman, and today I'm here to share a 2-for-1 card design. I love when I can use positive and negative pieces to be able to create 2 designs with one. I'm using Floral frame with a Swan, an older die set, My Favorite Things to Say, which is a newer sentiment set, and then a sneak peek of one of the Essentials die releases that's going to be happening very soon. It's called Side Stitched Rectangles. You'll see more of those in the coming days here very soon. So first of all, I've die cut that floral frame from both a soft blue cardstock and a white cardstock. And I'm using my fingers just to kind of pop up those flower edges, the petals. This is going to give great dimension when you assemble your cards and just kind of help pop it up with a little bit more of a 3D effect. I love the added touch that adds. I've already done it on the white one. And as soon as I finish going around the blue one, we'll move on to the next step. Now you can see that with those both die cut, that they fit into the negative piece. So this way I'm able to use both pieces, the negative and the positive, both ways. I've already die cut the edges with that new Essentials die that I was talking about earlier. And I'm alternating, I'm using a white card base for the one with the white frame and a blue card base for the one with the blue frame. I've already die cut the Swan pieces from the floral frame with a Swan. I used a soft gray and then added the little beak images, and I've already glued them together. And those are going to tuck right into the edges of those flowers, which works so great to kind of snuggle them in there, so it kind of gives them a little spot to sit. Now I'm pulling out My Favorite Things to Say, and I chose 2 small sentiments. On the blue one, I'm going to heat emboss that sentiment, so I wanted something without too fine of a detail, so kind of a little more of a solid and bold sentiment. On the white one, I'm just going to stamp it in black, so I picked one of the a little more loose and calligraphy style, because that one's easier to stamp in the black and get a perfect impression. I'm going to use that outline frame to hold it in place in my MISTI, and then set my piece in there, pull the Swan out of the way so that I don't have to worry about stamping on it. Actually, I guess I didn't pull the Swan out on this one, I just stamped it on. The other one, I think I pulled the Swan out since I was going to heat emboss, but that's stamped in there perfectly, and I'm just going to use the same frame so I don't have to line it up again. And this is the one I'm going to heat emboss, so I'm running my embossing buddy over the spot there to keep any powder from sticking to where I don't want it. And I'm going to stamp it with some clear watermark ink and just stamp it on there. And then I'm going to sprinkle white embossing powder on there to emboss it. That's where I took the Swan out of the way so I could heat emboss without messing that up. So sprinkle my white powder on real quick, shake off the excess, make sure I've got really good coverage on there. And then I'm going to heat set that with my heat gun. That's going to melt that embossing powder and give that nice white sentiment. I love how well white heat embossing shows up on colored cardstock like that. It's a great way to add your sentiment. And now I'm going to reverse back to put all my pieces together with the negatives and positives and start gluing everything down into place on my card. To make sure I get everything lined up, I'm starting with my outer frame, adding a little bit of adhesive around the edges, and then sticking that into place, making sure that I've got it the right side up because this frame is directional. And I have my sentiment already on there, so if I do it backwards, my sentiment's going to be upside down and my Swan's going to be upside down. And I'm just taping that Swan in place. And just like the flowers, I used my fingers a little bit to curl up the edges of the wings and a little bit of the tail feathers on it too. It's just going to contribute to the dimension on that as well. And this one, I ended up fixing it because I didn't pay close enough attention to how I lined it up, and I actually had it on there backwards. So I had to go and reverse it and fix it and cut it out and fix my card again. So do pay careful attention to that because it's really easy to put that on backwards and miss it. All right, now that I have both of those assembled and put together, I'm going to fill in the center of the flowers with some Nuvo Dream Drops. And I kind of did alternating. I picked a white pearly to do on the blue flowers, and I'm just holding it upright and filling in bigger and smaller circles based on the size of the flowers and going all the way around. I've sped this up a little bit. If your tip starts to clog, just clean it off with a damp cloth. And then for the white flowers, I used kind of a purpley blue shade that blended really well with my cardstock on here to finish that off. And now that I have all those on, I set them aside to dry nice and thoroughly. And you have 2 cards using your negatives and positives and putting them together to create more than one card. Which design do you like best? I can't decide if I like the white flowers or if I like the blue flowers. I kind of like just the difference and change between the two of them. I hope you'll give this a try. Thanks so much for coming by. Have a wonderful day.